At 11, Isaias doing damage and leaving behind a major mess.
This tree sparking a chaotic chain reaction. The police chief describing this crash here in Lancaster.
Areas across Massachusetts feeling the impact. Trees crashing down and one man trapped.
Tonight, the storm moving out of New England.
We have night team coverage.
Also, a devastating explosion. Dozens killed and thousands hurt in a blast in Beirut.
And another New England state added to the new Massachusetts travel order requiring visitors to quarantine.
7 News at 11 starts now. Tonight on 7, trees toppled, buildings battered, and lights out.
We're all prepared if we lose electricity. We have our water. We're ready to go.
New England feeling the impact of Isaias.
First tonight at 11, Isaias storming through New England today and leaving behind a trail of trouble.
Right, strong wind and heavy rain across the Commonwealth, knocking down power lines and causing big problems.
Oh my God!
Yeah, get away from the light.
Down wires sparking danger and frightening some people in Fitchburg. A fire started there on the road. You can hear the explosion at one point. Tonight, more than 213,000 people across the state are without power. And a tree causing a chaotic crash in Lancaster. The tree falling onto a car, causing the driver to lose control and then smash into another car.
We have night team coverage from where the storm is now to a closer look at all that damage across New England and other areas along the East Coast. Night team's Caitlin McCulley begins our coverage in Lancaster.
Yeah, a crazy chain of events here in Lancaster. A giant pine tree on the other side of this road came crashing down right as an SUV was driving by, landing on that SUV and causing it to hit another car.
This pine tree right here just snapped right off at the base.
A pine tree comes crashing down in Lancaster, landing on an SUV, crushing the windshield and hood, causing the driver to lose control of the wheel. The SUV hitting another car head on.
Everybody's doing okay so far, yes. We're very happy to report.
The driver of that SUV, a woman in her 30s, according to police, was taken to the hospital with injuries, but she is expected to be okay.
We are a very rural community here, and we do have a lot of trees, and some of those trees are not in the best of shape. And sometimes when you get an episode like this, weather-related incident, these things are bound to happen.
Families who live along this street may spend the night without power, but they are glad these drivers weren't more seriously hurt. And power here along Main Street is still out. There are hundreds of people affected. No estimate from National Grid on when that power will be back on. In Lancaster, Caitlin McCulley, 7 News 19.
Tree trouble in Rehoboth. A man became trapped under a tree during the storm after strong winds blew through the area. The wind was especially a problem for this storm, causing widespread damage across the state. The night team's Alex DePrado has more.
That man taken to the hospital with cuts and shoulder pain across Massachusetts today. Many trees came down in the high winds.
He heard a crack out in the yard and he went out to check on it.
The Rehoboth homeowner made the mistake of stepping outside his Reservoir Avenue home during the storm and couldn't get out of the way of the falling tree.
Tree come down on him, but it just barely got him, knocked him down.
His neighbor got a call and rushed to help and found the homeowner pinned to the ground. What was he saying to you?
I couldn't run fast enough. He knew it was coming and he tried to run.
The Rehoboth Fire Department and paramedics helped get the man out. The high winds even caused a branch to fall and blow out a window on this EMS SUV that responded to the scene.
Just a really big crack.
In Leicester, a massive tree limb came down and crushed this truck. The owner watched in disbelief.
I was watching it happen in slow motion as it was coming down.
In Mansfield, this tree came down on a home on Tremont Street. August 4th is a day for wild weather. 2 years ago, Dudley and neighboring Webster were hit by an EF1 tornado. The path of destruction a half-mile long and 300 yards wide. The fire chief recalls it well.
That kind of caused problems for a couple of days.
And at last check, that man here in Rehoboth that was hit by the tree was undergoing a CAT scan at Rhode Island Hospital. In Rehoboth, I'm Alex DePrado, 7 News 19.
The storm causing major damage elsewhere in the state. In Waltham, a large tree pulling down wires on Farnham Road. Powerful wind ripping the roots from a front yard, the tree blocking the entire street once it went down. In Newton, strong wind gusts sending this large tree onto a house on Glen Avenue. You can see the trunk of the tree also pulled right out of the ground. Crews already cutting up the branches and cleaning up the big mess left behind. Out to Worcester now, a tree falls onto a house, at least the side of the house there. The roots of the tree were ripped right out of the concrete along Newbury Street. You can see some of the damage to the side of that house.
Some areas along the East Coast are reeling in the wake of Isaias, the storm turning deadly in North Carolina, where tornadoes killed at least 2 people. It was a fast-moving system barreling up north, impacting millions of people in its path. Night Team's Justin Doherty live in our newsroom with more.
And the storm tore across the East Coast at warp speed, leaving millions of Americans surveying the damage tonight. Deadly damage done up and down the East Coast as Isaias hammered several states. Raging floodwaters ripped through the streets just outside of Philadelphia, cars left submerged, and crews forced to perform water rescues.
These guys did a fantastic job keeping these kids safe.
A Pennsylvania daycare also took a direct hit from the storm. 135 kids and dozens of staff members were inside when the roof of that daycare was ripped off. No one was hurt.
It blew and we just went, and then Marlene took us back, and then we went in the closet.
In New York, a building in Brooklyn collapsed during the storm and left in shambles. In a side-by-side photo, you can see what the building looked like before. The front of that portion of the building ripped off. And this evening in Queens, a van crushed by heavy tree limbs that came down in the high winds. On Maryland's eastern shore, a suspected tornado caused widespread damage, and another touching down near Ocean City, New Jersey. A tornado also touching down in North Carolina, killing at least 2 people in a mobile home community. Many others were hurt and taken to hospitals. The county sheriff says it's the worst damage he's seen in nearly 40 years with the department.
Vehicles are turned over. Vehicles are piled up on top of each other. It's just very sad.
A fire breaking out at a home in North Carolina overnight, but the storm creating so much damage, crews were unable to get to the flames. The roads impassable. Eventually, families nearby were forced to evacuate as the fire continued to burn.
In the middle of the night, this is like 2 in the morning, so the only thing they had on with them was what they walked out of the house.
Now, at this hour, there are still at least 3 people missing in that mobile home community that was hit by that tornado. Live in the newsroom, Justin Doherty, 7 News 19.
The good news is most of the worst is behind us. The storm is moving out of New England and out into the water and up toward Canada, that general direction. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Reiner with the latest track right now. Jeremy?
Yeah, the good news is that it has made that transition to post-tropical, so we no longer have any tropical storm warnings here in southern New England. The center of the storm is up near Sherbrooke, Canada, which is just to the northeast of Burlington, Vermont, by about 35 to 40 miles. That's how fast it's moving. I mean, it started the day down through the Virginias and then just skyrocketed up to the north. And then doing so had a lot of wind energy, so it's moving fast. It doesn't spend much time with us. But the downside to not spending much time with us, there's a lot of jet stream energy kind of shoving that storm along. And the result was a fair amount of wind damage across southern New England, Connecticut in particular. Connecticut matching their customer power outage upwards of Hurricane Irene. That is a statement, no doubt about that. Peak wind gusts, Marshfield gust to 63 miles per hour. Boston at Northeastern University gusting 61 miles per hour. Out at the airport, the peak gust was 53 miles per hour. That was enough to lead to the widespread damage, especially across central and western New England and down into Connecticut. Winds right now, you notice that they're backing off. You notice we do not have reports Springfield and Hartford and Worcester. There's a breeze out there, but it's not a gusting wind. And even where we have that gusting wind, now under 30 miles per hour. That's key. You get those wind speeds under 30 miles per hour and you can sleep easy. 7-on-7 forecast, breezy conditions and muggy tomorrow morning. The air dries out. It's breezy through the day, and temps will take off, reaching the upper 80s tomorrow afternoon.